The golden dawn begins to rise, a painted glow in morning skies. The world awakens, bathed in light, as darkness fades, now lost to night. Children run, their laughter rings. Mothers cook, the fathers sing. Hands are lifted, voices strong, a melody of faith so long. But when the sun begins to fade, the fire calls, the stories wait, for soon a lesson will be told, a truth more precious than pure gold.
The children walked among the trees, their arms now full with twigs and leaves, their minds alight, their thoughts set free on what tonight's great tale would be.
I can't wait for tonight's lesson. Last night, Dad talked about creation and how Jesus gave his life for us.
Yeah, and how he created the stars and the moon. Amazing. But I wonder what he'll talk about tonight.
I bet it's about David or Daniel in the lion's den.
Maybe. But there's something I don't really understand.
What is it?
Dad always talks about God's kingdom. He says it's the most important thing. But what is it really? Is it a place? A castle in the clouds?
That's a really good question.
Then we have to ask Dad tonight.
Definitely. But wait, what if it's not a place at all? What if it's something different? Like a way of living?
Whoa, you might be onto something. But how do we know for sure?
A thought is sparked, a mystery grows. An answer waits that few men know, a kingdom near, a throne unseen, a truth that lies in things between.
They're taking their time, aren't they?
They always do, but I love seeing them work together. It reminds me how much they've grown.
They really have. You know, Proverbs says, a wise woman builds her home. Proverbs 14:1. And you, my love, have done just that.
Well, I couldn't have done it without you. And our children. They make it all worthwhile.
Did you hear that? It could be a bear.
Or the kingdom coming for us.
A question asked, a truth is near. The fire burns, the hearts draw near. A lesson waits in golden glow of things above, of things below.
Dad, we've been wondering, what is the kingdom of God?
That's a great question. But before we answer that, let's start with something important. Why did Yeshua come to earth?
To save us from sin?
Yes, but he also came with a message. His first words in ministry were, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." Matthew 4:17. He wasn't just talking about heaven. He was announcing that God's rule was breaking into the world.
Yeshua didn't just talk about the kingdom, he showed it. He healed the sick, cast out demons, and forgave sins. He was demonstrating what life under God's rule looks like. Matthew 4:23 says, he went through Galilee, proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease.
So, the kingdom is already here?
Yes, but not yet fully revealed. It's like planting a tree. The seed is in the ground, but we're still waiting for it to grow into its full glory. Now, kids, listen up. Let me take you back to when I was just a young boy, no older than you are now. I had a friend named Charlotte. She was brilliant, no doubt about it, smart as a whip. But just like Joseph in the Bible, she had a rough start in the world. Her parents were good, Christian folks, loving, kind, but they weren't rich. And Charlotte didn't wear fancy clothes like some of the other girls. In fact, she was teased for it. You see, at that age, kids can be cruel. They didn't see Charlotte for who she truly was. They saw only what she didn't have, and that made her a target. Every year, the bullying got worse. Her classmates didn't understand her, and she didn't quite fit in. But the more they pushed her down, the more she rose above them, holding on to her own truth. She was like a bright light in the darkness, but that light made her a target, just like Joseph when his brothers turned on him. And just like Joseph, Charlotte didn't deserve the hurt they gave her. But in the end, God had a plan for her, a plan she couldn't see back then. She didn't know it yet, but this pain would shape her future in ways she couldn't imagine. At the time, all she could do was hold her head high and keep going, even when the world seemed to turn against her. And you know, that's where the seed starts to grow, son. Not in the easy times, but in the hardest ones. Now, back when Charlotte was 7, things were tough for her at school. She had a lot of heart, but the other kids didn't quite understand her. It wasn't just the way she looked or the clothes she wore, though they did tease her about that. No, it was because Charlotte was different. She didn't care about the same things the other girls did. While they were all busy trying to be popular, Charlotte loved books, loved learning, and spent her time dreaming big dreams about things like being a teacher or a scientist. I remember one day, after lunch, the girls in her class were all talking about a new trend, some silly fashion statement or the latest Instagram challenge that everyone was posting about. But Charlotte, she didn't care about that. She wasn't on social media. She didn't even have a phone, and honestly, she didn't feel like she was missing out. But the other girls didn't understand that, and so they started calling her names. Weirdo, nerd, ugly. It wasn't just in the classroom either. When they gather outside, she could hear them whispering behind her back, talking about her as if she didn't matter. One day, Charlotte was sitting alone during recess, reading a book like she always did. A group of girls came over, and one of them grabbed her book out of her hands. They all laughed, telling her she should stop being so uncool and get a life. Charlotte was hurt, but she didn't let them see it. Instead, she smiled and said, "I'm happy just being me." But they just rolled their eyes, and one of the girls, the leader of the group, made a post on social media, a picture of Charlotte, caught off guard with her book, and a rude caption. It wasn't long before the whole class saw it, and suddenly, Charlotte became the subject of their jokes. She was the odd one out, the target of online ridicule, and even though she didn't show it, the pain was real. Now, kids, you might be thinking, why didn't she fight back? Why didn't she stand up for herself? But the truth is, she was already fighting an invisible battle, one that most of the other kids couldn't see. You see, peer pressure back then didn't look like the bullying you might think of from movies. It wasn't always about physical fights. It was often about the pressure to fit in, to be like everyone else. And for Charlotte, That pressure felt like it was crushing her every day. It wasn't just face-to-face bullying, it was all over, in every corner, because of what was said online. The world had a way of making her feel small. But even as she walked through that storm, I saw something in her, something I didn't see in the others. She still held on to her belief that there was something more to life than fitting in or following trends. That's the thing, kids. Sometimes the hardest battles lead to the most beautiful growth. But like I said, that was just the beginning of her story. She didn't know it then, but that moment, that feeling of being thrown aside, would eventually turn into something beautiful. The tree might have seemed small, even broken, but God's plan was already at work, just like with Joseph. By the time Charlotte was around 12, the weight of it all started to get to her. All those years of being different, of being pushed aside, it was beginning to wear her down. She stopped being the smart, confident girl I once knew. It wasn't the same Charlotte anymore. She tried so hard to fit in with the others, tried to become someone she wasn't. But no matter how much she changed, it never seemed to work. She just couldn't find peace. One day, Charlotte was sitting on her bed, scrolling through social media. She looks worn out, tired, confused. Her classmates are still mocking her in school, and now it's spilling over into her online life. She sees pictures of her friends laughing, wearing the right clothes, posting perfect lives. Charlotte's face falls. She starts to question herself.
Why can't I just be like them? Why am I so different?
Her eyes flicker toward her bookshelf, where her Bible sits. It's been gathering dust, and she hasn't opened it in a while. She reaches for it, feeling a deep ache inside her. You see, kids, sometimes we have to reach the lowest point before we're ready to truly listen. And that's where Charlotte was. She was searching for answers, but nothing seemed to fill that void inside her. She thought the pain would never end, that she was forgotten. But what Charlotte didn't know was that heaven had already heard her cry.
Every story has a breaking point.
And a moment where light dares to break through the dark.
And just when Charlotte had nothing left to give, the kingdom came to her.